It's daytime! Yay! So we're here for our weekend reflection message. Those of you who are here often know that I yearn to film during the day, and I usually don't get to until evening. So I've been trying really hard to change things around so that I can adopt that kind of schedule. So, yay. Glad that I was able to do it today. So, for our weekend reflection, typically on the weekends, it's like kind of a culmination of what we've been working with throughout the week and themes that we've been seeing and, getting to the other side of feelings that we've been digesting and concepts that we've been working through. And the end of the week usually represents what we've arrived at or where we've arrived. And I'm feeling very restless at the end of this week. And when you are like 15 and you don't have your license to drive yet, and you want to go to just be able to go out to Target. And this is what we were the straw that broke the camel's back when me and my friends were like 15. We just wanted to go to Target and buy lip gloss and Biore strips. And we couldn't, it's like you're just so close and yet not there yet. And I'm feeling that kind of level of frustration right now. And that's like the only way I know to describe it. It's sort of that feeling of outgrowing your past and your current trajectory and not having the vehicle yet or the vessel or not being in that next level yet and feeling like, oh, I've really outgrown this chapter of my life, but feeling like you're still kind of like stuck there in that in-between phase for a minute, and you're just like, what do I even do to make the most of this moment, because it's like, I don't know. I'm finding this, I'm at an impasse where I'm like, I can't dig any deeper in this healing work, and yet there's always more to do. But it's just like, oh God, I'm so sick of myself, burnt out and disenchanted and ready to be off of a plateau. I feel like, a sailboat in the middle of the open waters that has just run adrift with no wind. And you're just like, you don't know how long you're going to be there, like in that period of just stagnant, no movement, And the first card, Convention, talks about just that. So we'll get more into the reading, but I'm going to show you the cards. We'll listen to the audio and then we'll talk more. So we have Venus in Capricorn, Convention. We have Jupiter in Capricorn, which is control. And then we have Saturn in Leo, which is generosity. Interesting, there's these two different characters here, but they're both in very similar garb. They're both very similar. Are they the same person? Are they depicted in their different sort of states? Either way, I feel like this character's elevated in a position of power. You see there, in this case, the prophet is in the upper realms overseeing a kind of disciple, like teaching or talking to a crowd. And then here we have like this sort of enlightened character who is portrayed as like kind of having cosmic sovereignty. He's got a dominion over the material realm. like the Ouroboros, like the snake has eaten its own tail. So he's been released from the veils of illusion in a sense. And now he's like detached from the power of ego's illusion, and he can be turned inward to having sovereignty over self and free will. But what, at this point, it's like when with great power comes great responsibility, right? So those in power in the world right now, how are they wielding their power and their the way that they're reigning over any given situation? I think we're battling against the idea of, man wanting to believe that he's in control, and the authoritarian, domineering, dictating destruction that we are kind of all sitting under right at this moment. But also looking at that within as well. So underneath convention, we have Two of Cups. Underneath control, we have Eight of Cups. Underneath generosity, we have Ace of Pentacles. And kind of like setting the whole thing off, giving a context to the whole reading, we've got Five of Swords. So I'm going to let you all listen to the audio real quick, and we'll come right back. I couldn't feel any more restless, and the cards agree. We are so over conventional norms and expectations of society. We're done validating systems and institutions that are barely more than booby traps. The veil has been drawn back. We've seen the man behind the curtain. The jig's up. The current world system is dysfunctional and actively imploding. We're ready to move on and bury the old corpse and begin a new story. We want true value, real meaning, purpose, and wholeness. We want to plant new seeds of hope, harmony, peace, and love. We want joy and simplicity. We're no longer willing or able to participate in a system that is set up to cheat us out of basic dignity and well-being. Blessed are those who hunger. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are those weeping now. For you will laugh, you will be filled, and you will inherit the kingdom of God. Blessed are you when men hate you, and when they cut you off, and will reproach you, and will cast out your name as evil on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy. For behold, your reward is much in heaven. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God. For thou hast smitten all mine enemies on the cheek. Thou hast broken the teeth of the wicked. All right, so this convention card, the Venus in Capricorn, it talks about like feeling sort of boxed in by conventional societal expectations, right? Of family, home, belief, religion, duty, all of those things that like adults are expected to be and expected to live in this mold and live up to. But the expectations of this household are like closing in on the child. See, it's like suffocating, and it's putting this child in a frame, and it's like, how were we relating to life? How did we relate to family dynamics? And what did those projections project on you? What limitations did they put around you? And what roles did they threaten to stick you in? Even just adhering to the conventions of society is laughable right now. It's like, we're seeing all these things come out, and we're seeing how, like how recklessly things are being governed and approached, and that the world is just on the brink of annihilation in so many ways. It's just like, like we're going to bend to the will of this like hysteria and insanity. Like what, we're just gonna go about like this same narrative that they've been, trying to serve us. Like, hey, here's this false illusion. Stay distracted. Keep punching the clock, keep doing what you're told, and keep following the model, the format. Stay in line, don't make any trouble, just do what you're expected, be submissive, don't create a stir, don't branch out, don't do anything different, don't stand out, gotta fit in, gotta survive, gotta make a difference. It's like, gotta be better than them, gotta feel like I'm at least keeping pace with this person, like fitting in. Like, my mom was talking today about like this feeling that she'd been having at her church, and her church is one of those places where it's been like, we grew up in a very unique and authentic church, standalone experience, but now that church dissipated and, kind of went on its way, and she's always kind of searched for a church after that. And the one she's going to now, it's like, I don't know, she's not aware of Christian culture from an awakened, like, oh, I see it for what it is, like, kind of thing. And so she was just saying how she felt this pressure to pray and be good at it because that's everybody else did it. And they were so, impactful and articulate. And then she was like, God convicted her about it because, Jesus says don't feel like you need to pray in public. Go in your closet, pray from the heart. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just supposed to be, sincere and real. And I mentioned, I was like, yeah, I mean, you don't realize this, but there's like a culture around that. And it's like this pressure to fit in. And there is a style and a cadence to this kind of prayer. And a lot of it's just performative. And a lot of people just want to feel important and be heard. And I could do that whole song and dance and get up right now in exactly the same rhythm and cadence with all the same words and all the same catchphrases because it's performed everywhere all the time. And so it's like these awakenings are happening all over the place in every corner of our lives, and the lights are being turned on, and we're starting to realize what is being fabricated and what is organic. And so I think that the model for domestic bliss and the business plan for life that we were pitched is a Ponzi scheme, and it's not real. And so that paradigm that we were all expected to force ourselves into is no longer valid, and it doesn't yield the return on our investment. It just costs us everything, including our integrity and our happiness, right? So it's like, okay, we're looking for a life that's going to give us real meaning. And it's going to be a true reflection of our soul and our spirit and in our heart. And we crave heart-centered societies and people of like-mindedness. We crave unity. We crave harmony. We crave peace. We crave peace and prosperity for the people on earth, for the innocent souls on earth. I don't think any of us feel too dearly attached to any geographical borders and lines or divides. I think that, we just feel like a family of human beings that are watching one another go through terrible abuse and suffering and isolation and difficulty. And we want to do more to be there for one another. We want to build a new world that it's not crushing oppression to get through each and every day. You know, I saw this reel posted by this girl. I'm glad I stopped and watched it, but she was talking about how she's been living in Germany, and how you would never see this, you would never realize this as an American unless you lived in a foreign country long enough to like go get a job and work there and need to like maybe, you know, use some of the public systems or whatever. But she was like, you wouldn't see this unless you lived in a foreign country. And she goes on to talk about this, that there, in order to keep her visa, she couldn't work more than part-time. But she needed to get a part-time job. So she went and had an interview at this little coffee shop for a job as a part-time barista for like 20 hours a week. And she was like, it wasn't even like a real interview. She was like, they called it an audition day. And so she was like, I was nervous about my audition day. I don't have very good German. So I was like, I don't know how much use that would be. But she was like, I had a really fun time and it felt like it went well. She was like, and then during the interview after that, like after the day was over, we met and we talked about the day, and they were asking me, I'm just pretending to be her. She's like, they were asking me if I liked it, if I liked the job, if I enjoyed what I was doing, if I thought that it would be an enjoyable job for me, if I thought I'd like working there, if I liked the people, if it seemed like something I would be into. They were like, she's like, she was like, they didn't bring up anything about my performance or like my German or whether they liked me. She's like, I had to ask. And they're like, oh yeah, we really liked you. But she was like, they're just like, okay, cool. Well, follow-up questions are like, when do you want to work? When do you need off? Like, you'll have 36 days of paid vacation, or not, I don't know if it's paid vacation, but like approved vacation time. You have benefits, you have insurance. You're now required to go to the dentist twice a year. So you have the public insurance. So you have public health insurance. So you can go to the doctor for anything you want for basically free. And she's just like, almost like she's falling apart, and she's weeping because she's like, oh my God, she's like, to have this kind of access. And she was like, I didn't expect it, but I wouldn't have even known to ask, because the system we live in America is so cold. And well, this is what she was describing, and I agree, it's so cold and cruel and crushing, and they would never give you benefits at a job like that, let alone part-time. Like, to expect something real like that, we don't have any public health, available. Like, even our healthcare marketplace, we have to pay. It's just like, hey, everything's been price gouged, and we're gonna like kind of not price gouge you a little bit based on how much you make every year. That's it. We probably won't cover anything anyway. You have to meet an ungodly deductible before anything's even considered. So it's like, she was like, wow, to be in a country like that, where maybe like just your basic worries in life are taken care of, so you're not living in constant anxiety and existential dread. It's like, she was like, it broke me in a positive way. And I'm like, yeah, just thinking about it breaks me in a positive way, because I feel pretty broken right now in the way that the society's set up to. And so I think we've had enough, right? We're certainly not playing along. Yeah, go fuck yourself. So we've seen the oppressive control and the oppressor and the adversary. The curtain has been pulled back. Like, the wool has been removed. Like, we see very clearly now. We've had eyes to see, and we've had ears to hear. But now the eyes see everything, and the ears hear everything, and they can't unsee it now. And whilst we are free, we, listfully look back at ignorance being bliss. I think there's a reason why we're so nostalgic for the 90s and the 80s. It was the last moment that anything was like truly felt carefree. Even though things might have been going on, they were in their early stages of festering, and we didn't know, about things like we know about them now, and the problems hadn't escalated. Our crises weren't so acute at that moment. We were just, disgruntled at life, so moody, so brooding. We really had no complaints at the time. Not that we knew about yet anyway. So we 8 of Cups here. We're over it. We want something more. We want to build a life that is going to yield fulfillment and dignity, and just we don't need as much as we thought we did at one time. I think that we realize that there's more joy to come through simplicity and connecting with not bulk in life, but experiences and the things that we uniquely value as individuals. And so I think people are starting to understand how to curate their own, sense of a life and what that can be, and the beauty that they can experience within that, their own unique expression of a life well lived. But we're certainly not playing along with what it's not anymore. And so, yes, even simplicity can yield great peace and beauty, but we want meaning. We want value. We want something that gives us purpose and we can live with purpose. Whatever life brings, life's going to be hard work. We have to toil over our wheat to make bread in this world. But we might as well be working for something good, for something that brings us deep fulfillment, and not in a superficial passing way, but in a deeper way that yields eternal value, that it goes from your heart and it touches the hearts of others. It makes the world different. Your presence here echoes afterwards, even if no one knows your name. The effect of your cause was great. And so we have generosity here. This card, this Saturn in Leo, we have what's depicted here, this great patriarch, a great sage, a righteous soul, a wise soul, maybe a prophet, looking over a scene from the upper realms where someone who has taken on their philosophy and their teachings is trying to spread the gospel to the hungry crowd that is yearning for higher truth, higher wisdom, higher illumination. They want change. They want transformation. They want revolution. Nothing has changed since the 1st century. For the ancient, in ancient Christianity, they were up against the Roman Empire. They were financially just crushed and oppressed spiritually, socially, financially. And they were growing a new thing. Jesus came and he birthed a new thing, and he brought good news and freed people, or attempted to free people of the consciousness of the adversary and the oppressor. And he tried to show them another way. And many of the people at the time kept thinking he was going to do some military intervention and smite the oppressor and take over the government and then just make it a better ruler over the people. But what people forget is that God told the Israelites not to have a king. Don't appoint a king. Let me be your king and live harmoniously amongst one another. And they wanted a king. They wanted that golden calf. And he said, fine, have it your way. They needed something that they could see, feel, hear, and touch to rule over them, instead of trusting something that they can't see, that can't be named, that would have given them ultimate freedom. So we are slowly waking up to that understanding, but even now we find ourselves wrestling with the same questions, wrestling with the same issue of some people get it and some people don't. Can we get ourselves to a critical mass? We don't know. But I think that there is potential and opportunity in the air for great awakening and for people to understand. I mean, we are moving into the age of Aquarius, where people are shifting out of their obsession with self and personal gain and shifting their interest into that of the collective and the greater good, and harmony and prosperity and unity and sharing, not domineering. And so we are ready for Ace of Pentacles, a new start, planting new seeds, building a new thing. You know, it's like Jesus is when he was talking about the parable of a sower goes out to sow and he throws these seeds out, and it's like some seeds are going to land on top of the ground and they're not going to penetrate the soil, and the birds will come and they'll peck them and they'll never come to anything. Some of them will go into like the ground to a shallow depth, but the ground's hard, it's dry, and the plant might grow fast, but there's no roots, so it withers and dies. But then there is the soil that is deep and rich and dark and fertile and nourished and ready to receive the seed. And then that seed grows and yields fruit, right? We've been through the parched land, and we're ready with dark, fertile soil, I think, to take that new seed and grow something that yields fruit. But we certainly see the current world system for what it is. It's rigged up against us. The Five of Swords is about playing unfair, winning at all costs, even at the expense of others, cheating others just for the sake of victory, come what may, no matter what. Right? It's this attitude coming out of the powers that be that are like, well, if you're going to make an omelet, got to break some eggs. We all know what we're referring to there. And no one wants this. And we see that the whole system is set up to benefit a few out of control, greedy, insatiable vessels. And it's at the expense of the many. And that system cannot sustain itself. It will not sustain itself. There's not enough willing participants left to sustain it anymore. So it's on the way out. But in the meantime, as individuals, we also feel the crushing weight of living amidst this this kind of thing. Like, it's like being underwater and going like on a dive, and the lower you go, the more weight of the water is on you. And it feels like we are just slowly going lower and lower, getting under more and more pressure. And it's just carrying the weight of that. No matter what kind of level of faith and attitude and perspective we have, the bills are there, and the money coming in is the money that's coming in. You know what I mean? And so even if we have this grand attitude about it, like, it is what it is. Grocery prices are what they are. Gas prices are what they are. Rent is what it is. To try to dismiss that would be unfair, I think, and dishonest. Things are difficult. So, it's about holding on so tight to joy and to finding something that brings color and light into your world and beauty into your world when things are hard and it's tiring and things are painful. And having the energy to build something new, right? It's like being the early people who went out across an ocean to start over in life. And after several months at sea, barely surviving that journey, they land to having nothing and into a wilderness. of nothing anywhere, and then having to be like, okay, well, I guess we'll start mining and cutting down raw materials for building a new civilization amidst hunger and threat and exposed to all the elements. So in a sense, metaphorically, you are here. We are there. But we're doing it. Human beings have been doing it over and over. So we're going to do it again. We're going to have a good time. We're going to laugh. We're going to make a meme. Somebody will bring a dip. There will be pigs in a blanket. All right, y'all. I will see y'all tomorrow for our Secret Teachings of Jesus episode. We have entered into the Gospel of Thomas. Very exciting. From the Nag Hammadi library, discovered in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. Very exciting, very exciting. This is Gospel of Thomas is a collection of Jesus's sayings. So much like the Gospel of Philip was like this collection of Jesus's imagery and the parables and things he would say, it was like there were these like bigger portions of thought to process, like in meditation. These are smaller sayings, but still really big and profound ideas. So it's going to be fun to get into those. I'm excited, very excited. I loved Philip. So I loved Mary, and I can't wait for Thomas. So y'all join us. I record those videos like usually around midnight on Saturday night, and then I post them late. So you can either, if you're a night owl, catch them in the middle of the night or see them Sunday morning. Ciao.